again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. Each other, that's right. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. My name is Sondra, and I am the host of the Explore ProTech Coffee Conversation Show. Oh boy, we're gonna pray for my words today. So I am grateful to be here with these amazing gentlemen from Explore ProTech, and today we are wrapping up the year. This is our last live show of the year. We will be, of course, back ready and to go in January with some amazing tweaks and topics and so on and so forth. Today we're going to talk about action plans. So action plans can be for finishing up the year. Action plans can be for planning 2025. Action plans can be for getting you through today. So basically action plans. How are you today, Peter?
Oh, I'm absolutely brilliant. I think this topic is actually quite needed. I think of all the meetings I've had today and the discussions that I've had today, most of it has revolved around what's happening next year. Like everybody's preparing now for next year. Some people are still battling to finish off this year, but it's busy. And a lot of people that I've wanted to meet are not able to meet because it's just too busy. But then the people that I have been able to meet haven't been that busy, but they're planning for next year already. So I think this topic is quite is actually quite key at this point in time. And funnily enough, the same as last week, our very own expert is the host of the show, which is you, Sondra. So why don't you lead us into the conversation, because we wouldn't know what to say.
Gonna try. Yeah, so yes, I know a lot of people are in planning mode. I know some people are in survival mode, and everything in between. So definitely have seen that full spectrum, not only in my own life and business, but people around me. So action plans. So action plans are, I like to call them mini goals. So basically it's how you're going to get something done, whether that is writing a blog post, fixing your motorcycle, going Christmas shopping, setting your intentions, goals for 2025, and everything in between. So I say the action plan is actually more important than the goal. The action plan is more important than the goal, because the goal is the end result. The action plan is the doing. And action plans are a living document. They're going to change. They need to change. They need to be tweaked. They need to be reviewed on a weekly basis, at least, sometimes on a daily basis, especially if you are in a heavy, busy season, be making sure you check things to see how things are going in business and in life. So for me, the action plan is actually the more important part than the goal. Action plans to me are mini goals. So I always say each action step needs to be who, where, when, what, and how. So who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? What are they going to do? And where are they going to do it? And this not only applies to your team or your subcontractors or your family, but also to yourself. It's easier to do if it's laid out in front of you versus winging it. And I don't get me wrong, I've winged it many times, but usually you get a little bit better results if you have some sort of plan. So I do know some people that can wing it and do super, super great, but also get burnout really easy, or get overwhelmed really easy or stressed out. So I'm like, yeah, just give yourself some deep breaths and like write it down. What are you going to do? It also helps people help you. Nobody can help you if the things are in your head. Just plain and simple. Nobody can read your mind. If that was possible, then we'd all, be in a very different world, good or bad. So, but people can't read your mind. And I get reminded of that by my amazing family that they can't read my mind. And if I don't write it down or communicate it, then they can't help me, and they can't help stressed out mom if they don't know how to help stressed out mom. So communication is extremely important in that. So I always take a blog post as an example, just because I don't know, that's just an easy one. So when you're thinking about a blog post, you research the ideas you want to use in your blog post. Then you write a draft or write a title, or you send the research and title over to somebody else to write it, and then they give it back to you, and then you edit it and you go back and forth until you get the final process done. And then you might send it to the graphic designer, or you design the graphic. But each of those steps are steps in the action plan, research, write, graphics, editing, posting on wherever you're posting your blog, then sending it out to your email or social media, or both. All of those, blog post writing can be like 10 to 12 steps, depending on who's helping you and what they're doing. And the importance of knowing each step is, if somebody needs a week to edit something or 2 weeks to edit something, you have to have that in your action plan. You can't be like, hey, I'm sending you the research, like write me a blog post in 24 hours. Most writers are going to tell you no, or it's going to cost you triple. So don't do that to yourself. Don't pin yourself into that corner, and don't pin them into that corner. I was talking to somebody that creates gifts, and she's like, every year people want to wait until the week before Christmas, and she makes them by hand. So it's not I can hurry up and, make 15 things for you in 5 seconds. Each one's handmade. And we were just talking about how she needs to change her process of deadlines and things, how things get done, so that she's not stressed and she doesn't have stressed customers. So definitely look at what's worked in the past and what's working now, for sure. But yeah, action plans can be put for anything in your life. We have 5 kids and 2 bonus kids, so 7 kids going Christmas shopping is not you go to the store and you buy presents. There's a plan. There has to be a plan, otherwise I might break the bank. So there has to be a plan. And my husband loves spreadsheets, so we spreadsheet it out and talk about it, and everybody has their assigned parts and orders and places and things. But even simple things like what might seem like a simple thing like that still needs some plans to it. Peter, I can ramble on forever, so come on in.
No, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think something I want to highlight is the fact that spaces are much like people. They have their own character, their own feeling, their own way, their own, and much like an individual, if a person wants to create an action plan, but yet their brain works in a particular way that maybe a spreadsheet doesn't work for them, but a wall of pictures does, or there is always a way to facilitate the different way somebody thinks, or the different way that they would put together an action plan. But there's always a way to do it. So I don't think there's any excuse not to do it, because there is always a method that suits your personality, suits your skill set, suits your character, but then much the same. And by the way, I'm definitely a winger. I wing absolutely everything. I'm winging this right now. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth next. It's just going to come out and that's it. But much the same as people, spaces have different characters too. And if you are overseeing a space or managing a space, or you are, then not only do you need to know the character of the space and what works for the space, but what works for the individuals in the space when you're creating your action plan. I mean, just because maybe you as the leader in a space maybe function via, and I'm going to use myself as an example, just because I function with a wall of pictures doesn't mean that my team can look at that wall of pictures and know what's going on at all. Like I could step into a team building, we're a gung-ho team, this is the plan, and I could show them my pictures and they would all be like, no, because they might function with a spreadsheet, or they might function with. So I think it's just wise that to know and understand that you can have different ways of creating action plans, both for yourself and for your team. I think that's important to know how your team, because you can get the best results out of a team if you know how they function, if you know how they see the action steps, if you know how they understand the information. Maybe they want it in picture format, maybe they want it in a spreadsheet, maybe they want it in a speech, maybe they want it written as a story, step for step, maybe they want, but you've got to know. You've got to know yourself well enough to be able to do it for yourself, and you've got to know your team well enough to be able to do it for them. So yeah, I have to convert everything of mine into actual words.
Yeah, and it's very true. I had somebody that was Post-it notes. She loved Post-it notes. So she would move the Post-it notes all around her board and she would take a picture. And because we'd had a conversation, I knew how her brain thought, so I could transfer that into a Google Doc or a spreadsheet or whatever. So having somebody on the team that gets to know you and gets to know your style and is able to convert that into something that can be shareable is amazing too. And there's also apps and platforms and things that can help you with that. Yeah, for you, I would see that definitely pictures or just a voice memo and be like, okay, here's my voice memo. Like, I recorded it, but you got to do something with it. And I know people do. I mean, obviously, Somerville, Susan, Nastine, we get things done, Peter, with whatever you give us in whatever format. So yeah, definitely knowing the team and getting to know each other is extremely important. Everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weakness, or as I call it, their zone of genius. So if you're great at being a visionary and pictures, then you just need somebody that can translate that into words and documents and processes. That's who you need on your team. And that's also a good thing to know is that you need to know who's on your team. If somebody's speaking in pictures, you need somebody that can do it in words and vice versa. And then, yeah, definitely making sure everybody is on the same page and repeat it back to you. Peter, this is what I see in your pictures. Is that correct? And that might be even close to what you were trying to show them, but the feedback and being working together is extremely important. Same thing with your family, envision this amazing Christmas family shindig, and in your head it looks like this. To everybody else it looks like this total chaos, and you're like, okay, that didn't go the way I wanted. But did you talk about it? Did you talk about what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do it, how you wanted it to look? And planning's great, reality is reality. That's the other thing. You gotta make sure you take in reality, and that's why you're reviewing it. Best laid plans are just that, best laid plans. So my day was definitely set up one way, and 30 minutes ago, it's going to go in a completely different direction. But also that's my flexibility as a business owner. But best laid plans, my Mondays are very mapped out. But when I have to, we pivot and we change it and we do what we need to do, and keep on going. Mr. L, yes, I'm going by Mr. L today because that's just how my brain is working.
No, understandable. Hi, Sondra. And hi, Peter. Thanks, Mikey, for joining us. Look, what I like about what we do every Monday with you, Sondra, is the topics follow each other like magic. We were doing reviews last week, and this week is action plan. So you cannot take action before you review. You review first, and then you act thereafter. So that's why I like this. I love this space actually, because the topics are so interrelated that if you miss one, you've missed the whole chain. So I think one important thing that you mentioned in the beginning is action plans are not only for business, they are for personal as well. And those that have been following the show will know that I like saying practical things, and I like giving myself an example, just like Peter did earlier. I need to fix the bulb here at home. It's gone. Okay, I need to fix it. I need to replace it actually. Now, I need to plan. What am I going to do? I need to go buy the bulb. But before I buy the bulb, I need to check, do I have the budget to go and buy the bulb? So all those follow each other. Thereafter, I've got to go to the shop. When am I going to the shop? When is it suitable? When am I going to fix the bulb? How am I going to fix the bulb? So the when, how, and the resources that are needed are very important in action planning. You cannot execute something that you haven't planned. You've got to plan for something, and then when you execute, it's actually easier because you're following on the steps that you've set. You've defined your goal. You've said, okay, I need to fix the bulb. Okay, then when do you want to fix it? And then will I have time? What resources do I have? And then when am I going to go to the shops? Do I need a step ladder to get up there to the roof or something like that? So all those things have got to be planned. I cannot just go and buy a bulb, because then I'll buy a wrong one. And then I come back, it doesn't fit. Okay, I buy the right one, I come back, oops, I don't have a step ladder, I can't reach the ceiling. All those things, if you plan them well, it's so easy to execute. When I saw the message now that we did in the last coffee shop show this evening, I was in the yard, cleaning up. Okay, and this was planned. I'm gonna start cleaning when when the sun goes a bit down. Give myself an hour so that I'll be able to clean a portion. It's a measurable goal. I'll clean a portion of it, and then by the time we start, I would have finished the portion that I wanted to clean. So that takes action. That takes planning before you do things. Thank you so much. And this is Lesetja Mokou, your business development agent.
I love that. I love that. Like you said, it was measurable. You knew that I'm not going to be able to complete everything in this time frame. So I am going to focus on one thing. And I really do that with my creative entrepreneurs, because they love shiny objects and they love to go on different props. They're like, okay, 30-minute timers, the Pomodoro effect where you work for 25, off for 5 works really well for people. Co-working virtually is another option. I'm in a I actually help lead a co-working space. So we'll be like, hey, are you still focused? Are you how many tabs do you physically have open on your computer right now? Is it the only ones you're supposed to be focusing on? And we've all went astray and had been like, you're right. Let me shut those down. So definitely having the action plan is so much easier. And like you said, if you did them out of the order, you probably make 3 trips to the store and then you're mad and frustrated. It might not even get done because you're like, I know my husband sometimes is like, forget it, I'm not doing it. It's too much. So definitely same thing in your business. When you start something, you're just like, I'm gonna set up this. Okay, I'll tell myself, sign up form. And I'm like, okay, yep, it's only take me 10 minutes. Okay, well, wait, I gotta go do this and that. And if I had just written it out, I probably would have done it in 10 minutes, but 2 hours later, it still wasn't done because I didn't write it out. I literally was just like, oh, but I just have to go here and here, and this is gonna be this simple. And it wasn't. And I know I'm not techie, and I know I don't do anything that simple, quote unquote. So definitely need to know that what the plan is, and it's going to save you frustration. And again, the plan is going to have to be tweakable. Best laid plans, you could have been like, yep, I'm going to get this letter, I'm going to get up here, and it's going to be changeable. And I don't know, the bulb breaks in the socket, you know, like things happen and you're just like, okay, not gonna change how I'm gonna have to fix this. We had that the other day. That's why I know about that. So then, yeah, it took a little bit longer because we had to like get the broken bulb out of the socket and replace everything and get everything going. So I love that example, Mr. Al, that's amazing. Peter, come on in.
Yeah. The way Lesetja mentioned the process of the review, laying the groundwork for just stepping into creating those action plan spaces. I want to step onto now to the other side of it, because Lesetja so nicely created the platform. So the review space, the action plan space, but then what happens after the action plan space? Because, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but have you ever been in a space where you have a whole bunch of meetings, they're all important, you want particular results, but you haven't really researched who you're meeting and you're not quite sure what results you're going to get from the meeting, because you're just not prepared, and then you step into the meeting, you have the meeting, and then after the meeting you're like, oh shucks, it didn't actually achieve what I needed it to achieve. So I think let's take a look at that particular scenario. For me, the review space is part of creating the groundwork. The action plan space is all about creating the action plan. Who am I meeting? Why am I meeting them? What results do I require from that meeting? What does that person have that I need? What do I have that that person needs? I need all of this information. I need to know. And if I don't know the person, then I need to, in the meeting, get that information in the form of conversation. And that way, generally, stepping into a meeting, the results are generally quite predictable because I was prepared and I was ready for the meeting. So I think creating those action plans, it's not just about creating something that you need to act on. It's almost about preparing yourself and being ready so that you actually get the results you require. Because you can, and it's about adding strategy to your planning. It doesn't help you just go, oh, I'm going to create steps 1, 2, and 3 if you don't know what you want steps 1, 2, and 3 to actually achieve. Oh, I've got steps 1, 2, and 3 done. I'm so good, I got it done. Okay, but what did steps 1, 2, and 3 achieve? Why did you do them? Who were you meeting to get those results? So sprinkle strategy all over your action plans, and that will tell you, what do I need to be prepared for? What do I need to be ready for? What questions do I need to ask for the information that I require? How do I bring that up in conversation? These are all things that need to be now included in your action plan. Otherwise, you're just stuck doing step 1, 2, and 3. That seems quite, and as your space changes, so do the people that you meet, so does your plan, so does everything changes. Now, I don't know about everybody out there, but I have this drive to achieve a certain level within 2025. I had a particular drive to achieve a certain level within 2024, and 2024 has almost come to an end, and we've pretty much achieved what we set out to achieve in 2024, quite miraculously. 2025 is the same thing on a much bigger scale, which means dealing with much more people. Be prepared, because if you're not, you're just going to walk around steps 1, 2, and 3, and you're not going to get what you need while you're doing those steps. Your steps need to be informed. It's almost like, why am I doing step 1? What do I get from it? What do I achieve from it? Why am I then doing step 2? Am I ready for step 2? Be prepared. Otherwise, 2025 is just going to eat you up. Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. You're so funny. A couple of things. One, that's why I love quarterly reviews, because you can look at your standard operating procedures, because you can have standard operating procedures and have action plans, and they can be different and they can be the same. They can be both, but you still have to review them. And one of the things about that is that if you have some SOPs, then you know how much time things are going to take. You know why you're doing them. Like you said, why am I doing them? Because this is the way it worked in the past, but I have to review it, make sure it's going to work in the future. Like you said, different spaces, different people. You know, a 15-minute coffee chat's not going to be 15 minutes. You know, 10 minutes of prep, 15 minutes, 15, maybe 30 minutes of meeting, and then hopefully you do a follow-up email and some follow-up steps or a task reminder or whatever. But I know I know a lot of people do coffee chats and do nothing afterwards, and it's like, okay, that's usually not useful. The money is in the follow-up. The connection is in the follow-up. What do you do with it? Yay, we had a great conversation. Now what? What do we do with information? But if you have an SOP of like, okay, I do X, Y, and Z, I do the coffee chat, the outcome of that, no matter what the outcome, I'm going to send an email, but in that meeting, I'm going to know what to put in that email afterwards, whether that's a link to something or invite them to something or just giving them a thank you for talking to you and connect on social media or whatever that's going to look like is extremely important. So definitely having an idea ahead of time, like you said, and the why. The why, I think, comes more in the SOPs. If you have the whys and the SOPs, then creating the action plans and reviewing. I have a group goal setting session and we start with review. We start with the wins for the week. Like we don't go, okay, what are the goals for this week? You know, what are the wins? What worked last week? What didn't? You know, I have one that she crushes her goals every week. Like, and then we have several of us that don't, you know, and we pick up the pieces and then we figure out how to action correct for the week and keep moving forward. But I definitely love the fact that you said intentions of going into meetings and knowing why you're doing things is extremely important because a lot of people don't. You'll ask them, why are you do it that way? And they'll be like, because Jane Doe sold it to me on the internet. Great. Is it working for you? No. So why are you doing it? Because Jane Doe sold it to me on the internet. I paid good money for this. And I'm like, I get that, but you know, if it's been, you know, months of you doing it this way, it's not giving you the result you want, you know, I don't care how much you paid for it. It's not working for you. And maybe it worked for them. Maybe it worked for 100 people for them, whatever. But you get the choice of being still stuck. Also, I have the Unstuck program. To get unstuck and move forward and create a new action plan and move forward. Because a lot of times it's just people are like, I'm stuck because I don't know how to fix it, or I'm spinning my wheels. So definitely encompasses a lot of that. Mikey, good evening, sir. We are talking about action plans and
Yeah,
all
all
the
right.
things going into the new year.
No, great to see you guys. Sorry, I've been out for a while. I'll chat later about that. But important action plans and getting tasks or projects completed. And I can share this little tip, and it's coming from years of my working experience. When most projects, and it can apply in any objective or project or task that you have at hand, um, and when they are not met or they fail, um, where be it a particular target or a deadline isn't met. Um, a lot of the time, you go back to assess what went wrong, sort of post-mortem analysis, and it comes to that the action plan to achieve that project as a whole actually wasn't well thought of or didn't factor in variables that were experienced throughout the project, but for whatever reason, those that were involved in the creation or the development of the action plans just didn't factor in, and you can end up missing target deadlines, and yeah, the deadlines or the entire deliverable can fall short. So my takeaway is, when you have a project at hand and you know, okay, now we've got to break down the smaller steps to accomplish along the way in order to get the overall project met. Don't rush that process. Don't just yeah, okay, it's easy. Yeah, we'll do this by this date, and in 2 weeks, then we'll accomplish that. And life is such that the most unforeseen happens in that timeline that delays or interferes, budgets, costings, all sorts of factors can come into play. And if you're unable to, you may come across then have an allowance. Always keep an allowance at hand within your timelines, so that should an unforeseen, unpredicted challenge arise, then you've got that little buffer to compensate for that. But I cannot stress more than enough of how you need to really break down every single variable you can factor or foresee into your action plans. Don't rush it. Do not rush it, because things are going to happen that you never thought of at the time. And then sometimes it's too late to go back. Sometimes you can't go back. You have to roll with the failure, or you have to roll with the loss. And then, the worst case is you planned out this wonderful project, and because of all the unforeseen variables or things you didn't plan on, you end up doing the project at a cost to yourself, for the client or customer. It ends up costing you more money than what you thought. And but you already signed a particular cost agreement with the customer or client, and you've got to stick to that. So please, these plans we talk about, action plans, planning, the steps, it's not just simple, okay, you need to do A to D in order to accomplish your task. Trust me, there's A has like 8.1 to 10 in it. There's many little factors that you need to take into consideration. And I'm saying this from experience, because I've sat in tons of meetings, post-mortem, what went wrong, how come this went wrong, and then you find out that they just didn't plan it properly, and things just didn't, it was impossible. By the end, it became an overwhelming task to accomplish for the team or yourself. Yeah, just my 2 cents right there.
I love that, Mikey. Also, having check-ins along the way. I think that's the value of that too, is checking in after step one. How did it go? What do we need to do to, I know when I do retainer clients, I'll be like, I think it's going to take this, but I'm allowing this, and I will let you know along the way if it's working or not working. Communication is so important in your team and in your family. Again, the best laid plans usually go awry. So having
May I just throw in, sorry, just 2 cents
Sure.
added to that. A lot of the time as well, when creating action plans, sometimes there's a task or project to be accomplished, and the action plan could be as an entrepreneur by yourself, and it's assumed that the best people to develop and create the action plan is the most senior, or the ones overseeing or being held accountable. But it is vital to get the input from those on the ground who are actually going to do the work and action those action plan items in order to accomplish the project. That is the biggest takeaway I think I can say, because there's been many projects I've seen flop, and it's the things that were negated or forgotten about, the people on the ground could have advised along at the beginning, right at the beginning when the plan was getting developed, and that would have prevented a lot of issues along the way. Yeah,
I love that. Team input is so important. I work with different personality types, and there's a specific personality type. I don't have a problem with working with them, but I always have to remind them that they have to take an account of X, Y, and Z. They're like, just get it done. And I'm like, great, but we have to do X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C, and you jump to G, and we got to go backwards and figure that out. Another aspect of that is communication and team and checking in, but also accountability. You can have the plan, and if you're not holding people accountable or having checks and balances, I learned this the hard way about a week ago. Things were not getting done that I assumed were getting done, and that was my bad for not having checks and balances and accountability in the situation. So you're readjusting, and but it's also turned what something could have been simple into a lot harder project. Mr. L, come on in.
Thanks, Sondra. It takes a big person to admit they've made an error, and they went on to fix it. And thank you for mentioning that. And you also mentioned what I wanted to talk about: communicating your plans, whether it's for your client, whether it's for your staff. Your plans have got to be communicated so that whoever you're dealing with are on the same space, on the same par with you. Otherwise, your plan will not materialize. And I think Mikey alluded to that. And the one thing that Peter mentioned about going into a meeting without a plan, what do they say? You plan to fail? That is exactly planning to fail, because you're walking in there without any tools. And now you'll be flown against the wall like you won't believe, because you don't have a plan. And when people ask, you don't have answers because you haven't planned what you're going to communicate. That is very, very important. And what did you mention? Somewhere around, I forgot what you mentioned as well, Sondra, but I'll get back to it later in the conversation. But meetings, I hate going into a meeting where I can just feel this wasn't planned. And when you plan a meeting and you say the meeting's for 10, let the meeting be for 10. Because then you are now consuming other people's time. If the meeting was for 10 to 11, and then you extend the meeting to 11:30. What about the other people that had other plans before coming into your meeting? So it is very important to plan when going to a meeting. It is very important to communicate whatever you are going to, if there are things that are going to change in the company, communicate them. If there's a plan that you need to draw for a customer so that you can upsell to them, it needs to be communicated so that they are aware the plan that you have for them. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you selling to a customer, it's about your service to the customer or the client, because you want the clients to grow. So if you communicate your plan for them, for their growth, they will gladly accept that, and you're going to be their best buddy. Thanks, Sondra.
Yeah, so very true. And as far as meetings go, yes, have an intent in the meeting. I have had co-team members that are like, if it can be said in an email in 5 minutes, why are we doing a 30-minute meeting? Like, do you really need a meeting? I think, and if you've done your research and your intention, then you'll be like, okay, yeah, we need this meeting because of X, Y, and Z. Even staff meetings, I used to get extremely frustrated when our staff meetings at my day job used to last 3 times longer than they needed to, and most of us were checked out by the first 20 minutes. So you're going to lose people along the way if you don't have control of the meeting. I know my coffee chats, I have gotten better at leading the conversation versus letting them lead the conversation and getting nowhere in the conversation. So, but it took me time and skill, improving my skills to be able to be like, hey, okay, you've talked for X amount, like let's switch gears here so that we can wrap this up on time, usually is what I put. Because I do love hearing about people and their lives and stuff, but sometimes that 15-minute conversation can be an hour and I either never talked or we never got any, or I'll be like, hey, can we, do another one later to get to know each other, which is 100% fine. I do put buffers in so that I don't have to run off meetings usually. I try to, but not always, for sure. And if you have SOPs, it's also helpful to be like, okay, my process usually is this. Can we stay on this track? And people are like, oh, okay, like I'm fine with that. I've seen people have very strict processes and more lenient processes. And I also think it depends on your customer, your audience. So far, same thing with customers. If you're talking about customer project, probably should stay focused on a customer project, not 20 minutes of updates of life. Because I've gotten into weeds with that one too. So this meeting is to get this done, and let's get this done. If we have time, maybe we'll shoot the breeze afterwards or whatever. But Peter, come on in.
Yeah, I must admit, I think my space is a little bit more lenient because it leans towards the relationship aspect of doing business. So I have to be more lenient strategically. So being more lenient is actually part of my plan. if you are also a person that deals a lot with people and you are finding yourself in a space where you watched last week's show, you've stepped into the space of doing your review, you've gotten some advice on how to do that, some information on where to do that or who can help you with that. And now you're stepping into the space of creating action plans. Then the tips and tricks that you're going to pick up, obviously, whatever relates to your space is something that you can use, but whatever does not relate to your space, because we can only cover what relates to our own. However, there are multiple industries out there. So each action plan is going to be different. It's going to require a different approach. It's going to require different steps in between A and B. Some spaces might need more, some spaces might need less, but that is up to you as the individual to create that plan. However, when it comes to people, as part of your strategy for creating your plan, always know who you're talking to. Always. I have this important meeting coming up, and to get the meeting was I had to jump through multiple hoops just to get the meeting, which were all planned hoops to jump through to get to one particular meeting, and that meeting is very, very important. The person that I'm meeting, do I know them personally? No. But there are things that you can do to have an idea of that person or the things that they like, the things that float their boat. And it's quite simple. It's LinkedIn. What does their LinkedIn profile look like? What do they like? What posts have they shared that other people have done? What posts have they created that are their own? Let's take a look at what they've posted. You can generally pick up a pattern in 30 seconds. You can view somebody's profile and pick up a pattern in 30 seconds, and you have an idea of what floats their boat. Facebook. Oh, look, this person likes cake. They like cake. Got pictures of cake. That's great. And then upon setting up the meeting, which is an in-person meeting, my response was, well, why are we meeting at your office when Bootleggers is just up the road and they have the most amazing cake? You gotta try it. And they're like, cake? I'm like, yes, bootleg. She was like, I've had Bootleggers cake. It's fantastic. I'm like, well, we're going to go have some more. Let's go to Bootleggers. We'll meet at Bootleggers. The meeting hasn't even happened yet. I know what I want to happen in the meeting, but at the same time, just that little bit of pre-planning has set the stage for the success of the meeting. Just because you actually did your homework, and your homework allows you to create your plan. It doesn't mean you railroad people. No. It's not about buttering people up. It's just about knowing who you're dealing with. It just gives you a better position to be strategic and to say the things that you need to say. So I'm eating cake. That's it. I'm going to go have cake. So be strategic and have fun with it. Life's not all about too much work. If you plan properly, it can become less. Can. Not always.
I love that, Peter. Also true about communication. Devin was on the live, was like, WhatsApp group is great for discussion, and it can be 100%. I'm more visual. I'd love to have a conversation by Zoom. I will do the WhatsApp group or the emails back and forth, but if I'm not understanding something, or again, I want to build that connection, I would rather have a face-to-face virtually, or like you said, you would be, I know you, Peter, you'd be more comfortable in a restaurant than in a office building. Like that is where you're comfortable at. And if the person is willing to meet you that way, then yeah, it's going to, and it's going to favor you because you're in a situation where you're a little more relaxed versus, how do I put this, a stuffy office boardroom where that's just not Peter's cup of tea. And we all know that's not Peter's cup of tea. We'll send Nistine to those because that's her cup of tea and she can flourish in those. But Peter would rather meet you for a cold drink and a piece of cake at the local whatever. And yeah, knowing who you're talking to and their preference is just amazing way to connect with them on a one-to-one basis. And maybe you do one meeting one way and it didn't work and you do something different. I had one where I was meeting this way and I was used to meeting with this type of person this way. And then when I started meeting on a regular basis, they're just very point, cut to dry. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do it. You have 30 minutes in a story. And I'm just like, okay. It took me a minute. I'll be honest. It took me a minute to adjust because I'm used to the highs and the getting to know. And they're like, that's not the way I run my call. Okay. I know now. And now I'm like ready, prepared, know what I'm supposed to tell. We get the meeting done and it's productive. And I'm not in my feelings. I'm a feelings person. So I'm not hurting my feelings about not being personal. And that's how she rolls. So also evaluating how your perspective and how you feel about things is also important when you're doing action plans because yeah, you might assume or you feel somebody should do something a certain way, and that can get you in the weeds too. Communication is just so huge, and communicating on a level that you both get what you need to get out of the conversation is extremely important too. I can call people, but like my brother, I'd rather do a video chat. Like just know that is also going to give you a leg up on getting more things done, because then your meeting is going to have a better outcome because you both get what you need. And also, like people said, having a minute at the end to wrap up the meeting and not be like, oh, I gotta go, bye. It's just so important, or say, hey, our next meeting is going to be, or my next step is this. What is your next step? So you end with action to take after the meeting, whether it's you'll meet 6 months from now or a year from now, or I say I do quarterly check-ins with people. And when I send my follow-up email, it has that set your next quarterly check-in so that I kept to my word of the action step that I was going to take after the meeting. Mr. L, come on in. We are about to wrap up.
Yes, yeah, I remembered what I wanted to say. And it's so important, Sondra, that whenever you're making your plans, they've got to be tweakable. And I think that's the word that you used. They've got to be tweakable because you cannot want to follow a plan that you know and you see it's not going to work. So somewhere you've got to allow for gaps where you can quickly change your plan because one, maybe time doesn't allow, or you haven't been able to meet the person that you wanted to meet at the time. And so allow your plan to be tweakable. And I think the one other important thing that you don't have to forget is when you're executing your plan, always be reviewing. You don't have to wait for the end of the plan to say, okay, now I have planned for this. How has it happened? As it's happening, review it so that you are on track. And that's to avoid having to go back, Mikey, to say the postmortems that you're talking about. We will not need postmortems because our plans have been successful. Why successful? Because as they were happening, we were able to tweak them and we were reviewing them to make sure that we are on track. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, Adrian, Sondra. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Yes. If you review each step of the way, you can action correct versus 6 months from now, and possibly thousands and millions of dollars later, it could have been averted. Again, it's best laid plans, and if you're not reviewing them and expect them to, and it might be that it worked a month ago, and some little glitch or something happened that's going to throw it off just this much to cause havoc for the rest of the action steps is important to know. And again, it might be your standard operating procedure, but you still have to review that because people are human. The world is revolving. Things are changing on a daily basis. Some of us on an hourly basis. So having that in your forefront that like, hey, that wasn't their intent to not do or do that this way. What happened? And could I have found that out 3 weeks ago versus 6 months now? So Peter, you want to go, then I go, or how you want to do this? Kind of wrap
Well,
up.
I think I'll just make a last statement and then
Okay.
so I think when setting your action plans, please be realistic. I'm not realistic at all, ever. I'm a dreamer. That's what I do. I dream up things, and wouldn't it be nice to one day be able to do this? So if you are that dreamer, it's very difficult to be that dreamer on your own, because then it's just a dream, right? And then you're responsible solely on your own for creating all those steps. And that might take 1 billion steps, and you're not going to achieve those 1 billion steps all by yourself. So if you are that dreamer, surround yourself with good people, great people, in fact, which is something that I've had to learn. If I create a dream, or a dream of, wouldn't it be great to be able to do this, then I need to know that I have the team around me, that if I go, this is what I'm dreaming of next, because next year is going to be a different dream. If this is what I'm dreaming of next, then I have the people around me that go, well, in order to get to that point, we need to achieve. And then the team steps in and everybody does their part. And by the end of the year, we look backwards and we're like, oh my goodness me, look what we did. That's absolutely brilliant. So my number one tip, surround yourself with great people. Hence the fact that if you don't know how to create your action plans, you can actually just reach out to Sondra, because well, that's what she does. So, and I surround myself with good people. So Sondra, if I ever struggle with my action, actually, we do sit down and create action plans together, don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah, we do for sure. And I know Nestine and Somerville help you with that too. For sure. So just to recap, definitely creating your action plan is extremely important, but each step is even more important. And of course, reviewing those steps along the way, not after the project's done, not months after you're in the weeds, can save you time, money, mental and emotional frustration, and just actually help you get more done. It's going to help you get more done by reviewing. So that leads me into review. Speaking of which, my last quarterly review for 2025, aka the life performance review, is tomorrow at 12 p.m., same time as the show, Eastern, and it's still open for registration. So you can find that link in the show notes, or even previous show notes, because I know Susan won't get to them until tomorrow. So yeah, definitely would love to sign up, have people sign up for that or look for that. I know somebody in the last Cape Town event actually won that, a free workshop. So I'm grateful to meet them tomorrow. And so, yeah, I help with goal setting, action plans, everything in between, resources, helping you surround with those amazing people, like Peter said, to help you get things done. And then of course, accountability to get those things done. So that is what I do as a goal accountability coach. And we want to thank Susan, who does lots of things in the background, everything from show notes, turning this into a podcast so you can listen to it on Spotify. She will also be posting to our highest view show of the year will be next week, and then following week will be a repost of my favorite show of the year. So there will definitely be some reposts that you can always go back and watch. And then if anybody has any feedback or anything for next year, I'm open for all of that. And we will see you next year on January 6th of 2025. Peter, you want to take us out?
So it's come to that time once again, and I think I'll keep it short and sweet. And we'll end this off with the saying from Nestine Botha, which is, may all your wildest entrepreneurs